I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm
How's everybody
alright.
doing? Okay, I promise I'll never buy another locomotive. I want to give you a little bit of a layout update, but I also want to talk to you about this new acquisition on SRY, this locomotive. And let me first say, well, a couple things. I'll jump off the tripod and do a walking kind of slow. I'll try to be slow and gentle for the to avoid the Blair Witch effect. But I just want to give a shout out and a thanks to all those that gave super thanks. You know, down below the video, there's a little, if you scroll to the right below the video, especially on a desktop, you can donate. People donated, so I compiled that and I bought this locomotive. Well, that's what paid for it. And I'll talk about it a little bit more. And then I'll also talk about this locomotive that was a sort of a ugly duckling donation by Second Section Podcast. Andy and Mike sent me this, and it was, I'm the third owner now. I think it was dropped before Andy got it. He told me he bought it used. It had damage, but it was also poorly painted, etc. It had really bad, anyway, I talk about that, but I have a series on this. If you want me to publish it, it's really good. I cover right from the strip to the rebuild to the super detailing and the custom paint. So that would be about well, I'll try to keep it to a 2-part series. Could go 3 though. So if you want to see that, just give me a little shout out there, or let me know in the comments below. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over section 1 and 2 briefly here, and I'm going to just explain to you a few things and try to also answer a few questions, okay?
I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year.
Okay, so I'm just going to take you over the layout here and just explain to you what's going on. And then I want to address a question that was brought up. It was a good question, actually. How do you find the time? Like, how do you achieve all this in, you know, in a few years, etc.? Okay, so before I start this, I'll just try to answer that. So I've basically been self-employed most of my life as a contractor and sort of multi-trades, you know, in film and everything, just a craftsman basically. And so without going into all those details, so I just learned discipline and work. You have to be a self-motivator. But to maybe put it in pragmatic terms, I write stuff down. I'll show you that at the end. I have little notes everywhere. I just write things down and I try to achieve sub goals to get to the bigger goal. Like this section here, that's why I don't take broad sweeps over the whole layout. I build it in chapters. Like, let me just explain here. So this is pretty much done now, right? This is, well, over a year ago, it wasn't quite to this level, but now that I've finished, you know, like this details in here, like this is done. It's all lit up now. It's basically finished. Yeah, I could put a vehicle there and some cattle going down to drink water. I mean, those are all things that like those are your privileges that you get to have or save, you know, for down the road. But, and then of course there's the two main components, which, you know, I'm not going into right now because those I'll be starting this summer at some point, the ferry and of course the tug. But this ramp is almost, it's about 95% done. And like these kiosks here, like here's an example of maybe that might address part of that question. Like I have been working or looking at these for years now. Like these were the, like these, like this was the first component that I actually built, like at the very beginning when I conceived the layout. And yet you'd think I would have these done, these little kiosks, right? But I keep, you know, deferring them. I just can't, I'm struggling with those. I'm not struggling with all the rest. Those, I will get them done, but it's funny, isn't it? So I have some more cool content coming up. Like I revised this warehouse to a movie studio soundstage. It's all lit up and it's really cool. I put a photo in there for the back alley there. Like that police car, it's not outdated. It's a prop. It's a movie prop. And it fits the context of this scene prototypically. So if anybody was wondering, a lot of movie studios are like that. They're way out in the back 40. You never know where they are. So this, like this first section is very prototypical, right, of the actual location. You know, of course, it's not going to be perfect. Nothing is, or nothing's totally accurate. Like, I'll just get this out of the way quick, and I'll go on to these locomotives. Like, you know, I've heard the term, you know, railroad of lies. Like, okay, so that's sort of a silly notion to me. Like, for a couple of reasons. For one, like nobody is you know, perfect to the prototype, right? And if you say things like that, you know, what about the person that's halfway into their layout and you say something like, oh, it's the railroad of lies? It's going to take the wind right out of their sails, right? So I'd rather be inspiring. I'd rather, you know, not make comments like that because, you know, like what is a railroad of lies? Like most artists, at least I would anyway, would laugh at that particular colloquialism. I just don't get that. But anyway, it is what it is. So these, this is the locomotive I was telling you about that was dedicated or donated to me, the one right here, this SD35 by Andy at Second Section Podcast. And it's a new locomotive that SRY brought up from Montana Rail Link and they restored it. It's just a beautiful locomotive, like, and it fits this particular one. This is scale train, so this is the original livery of BC Hydro. This is the former prototypically correct livery and locomotive, which is still in active service, but it's painted like this now with the meatball. Right, this is the meatball. This logo right here is sort of in between. It's about 2012. That's the Washington logo, Dennis Washington, the owner of the railroad. And then it's still there in the meatball. You can see it, the logo, but it's changed, right? And then you'll see that GP9, it still has the older one. So there's a transition there. This is the era that I model right here, pretty much, 2010, 2012. This I could run as a heritage, you know, when you think about it. But I want to show you why I think this is cool. Like I'll just show you a prototypical shot quick of these two locomotives together at the IPEX Plastics industry that I will be modeling at some point in midsummer or fall when I get on to the end of section 2, the beginning of section 3. And I'll show you a shot like this where they're both actually together, but obviously this one, same locomotive from 1972 or whatever, but repainted and probably rebuilt, etc. Okay. Yeah, so cool, eh? Right? So the roster is growing slowly, right? Even though I promised not to buy any more locomotives. Yeah, so, and then, you know, like this section here is still in flux, kind of. I'm really not sure there's many options I can do here, but like I said, I'm not in a rush, but you know, I'm thinking of building a gantry crane actually where those trailers are. Like I'll probably show photos of that. Like that's kind of the idea, but you know, that's for another build, right? I'll cover that as well. Oh, and I'll just give you a little bit of a heads up. This building's a stand-in from Glover Road. It's not going to be the final building for this location. I'm working on another one. I'm not going to say yet, but I think it's going to be really cool. It's like it won't be prototypically accurate in the sense that it belongs there as a location, but it'll make sense and I'll explain it all, and it's all believable and plausible. And in the same way that this scene is not exactly prototypical, but the track is, and the region is, and so are these buildings. So much for Railroad of Lies, right? So this section right here, as most of you know, has been what I've been slaving away, and it is in a bit of flux right now because I'm just finishing the lighting. And like I've added like new lamps here and poles, and it's almost there though, but you know, I've been pulling it in and out for wiring and some other details. Oh, and I almost forgot signals. Yeah, okay, so I'll just back up here. I have a tutorial on how to make these ABS signal boxes. Like you can see, I got a signal that's going to go there. There are signals on SRY, by the way. There isn't one right there, but who cares, right? I want signals on my layout. There'll be another signal stand here. Of course, there's the one further back in section 1 that I replaced. And then, well, you can see, here's one of my notes that I mentioned earlier. Glue paper over windows, upper floor, you know. And then, of course, there's an overpass, which is out of the way, so I don't keep breaking the railings. Those pesky railings. And then there's the warehouse that goes in there. And then here's where Ipex Plastics is going to go, etc. And then further on to the right, which I don't want to really go there right now. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of an overview on the layout that way. And I'll just mention in closing that I'll be doing a workshop at Intercity Trains and Hobbies. I think it's going to be the 21st of March. So if you want to look them up, just Google them up and phone them if you want to get in on it. I think there's a limit of 20 people. It's going to be an evening there and a workshop. Okay, so I'll be able to answer a lot of questions and have some fun and some pizza and, you know, have a nice night, right? At the store there. So thanks a lot. Happy modeling, right? Be inspired. You know, whatever your railroad is, be inspired, have fun with it, learn what you can. And I hope that you have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Way back a year ago,